All right. Well, good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Blue Manufacturing Information Session. We're going to kick off here right away, but just want to say thank you, everyone, for taking the time to be here with us this morning, and thank you for your interest in the Blue Manufacturing Program. This is a really high priority effort for our director, Mr. Doug Beck, and we're really excited to be working in this project, and we're really excited about the potential outcomes that we're going to have here as we move forward in deploying this new initiative for us. And so with that, I'm going to hand it over to Orlando, who's going to be running us through as the moderator for today to really dive into the details of what we're hoping to achieve with this initiative and hopefully get to a significant amount of your questions today. Thank you for the time and excited to be working hopefully with many of you all in the future. Thank you. Orlando, over to you.
Thanks so much, Jesse. Really appreciate it. Good morning and good afternoon to many of you, depending on where you're joining us from. And welcome again to the Blue Manufacturing Information Session. My name is Orlando Zambrano. I'm a contractor supporting the autonomy portfolio at DIU, leading our commercial engagement efforts. And as Jesse mentioned, I'll be your host for the next hour or so. Before we get started, a few housekeeping items for today's webinar. The webinar is being recorded, and we intend to make the recording available for folks that are not able to join. As Jesse mentioned, the intent is to kick off the webinar with presentation, but then have a dedicated Q&A session at the conclusion of the presentation. So in the meantime, please submit your questions using the dedicated Q&A function that's located at the bottom of your Zoom window. And as you might see, the chat feature is disabled currently, just to ensure that all the questions flow through that Q&A function. Today, we'll be hearing primarily from DIU Autonomy Program Manager Travis DeMeester, who is leading Blue Manufacturing, and he'll be sharing his insights as he presents, as well as answering your questions towards the end of the webinar. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce Travis DeMeester and hand things over to him.
Great. Thank you, Orlando. And thank you to everybody who took the time to join the call today. We're very excited about our new Blue Manufacturing Initiative. Again, my name is Travis DeMeester. I'm a contract program manager and the architect behind DIU's efforts in advanced manufacturing. As Jesse mentioned earlier, our director, Doug Beck, is increasing our investment into the advanced manufacturing space as we see it critical to the future of defense. So with that, I've got a handful of slides here to start us off. I'm going to start with an overview, looking specifically at DIU in general. We recognize that many of the participants on this call haven't worked with DIU before. So we'll start with an overview there to be sure that everybody understands our focus in advanced manufacturing in the context of how DIU executes innovation on behalf of the Department of Defense. Following that, we'll move on to an overview of the Blue Manufacturing Program. And keep in mind, as we're going through all of this, please surface your questions in the Q&A form that Orlando mentioned. And that way we'll be able to get to those for the end. We'll hit a section on how to apply the application process and what we're looking for. And then we'll be wrapping it up shortly. Again, this is recorded, so feel free to keep these slides, et cetera, as reference when that recording comes out for your availability. So the Defense Innovation Unit's mission is to accelerate the Department of Defense's adoption of commercial technology at speed and scale in order to deter major conflict or win if forced to fight. To do that, we execute through three major pillars. Those include synchronizing warfighter needs with commercial capabilities. Second, lowering barriers to entry, creating new pathways to speed and scale. And finally, catalyzing a unified innovation ecosystem. Our portfolio of efforts spans TRL levels, maturity levels, manufacturing readiness levels, and R&D into scale and finally into production. You can see an overview of those efforts here. Begins with talent, the core of any development effort, runs through concept development, prototyping, and finally production and scaling. This particular effort, Blue Manufacturing, as you'll see, is focused on the right-hand side of that curve. So development through prototyping and production. You can see more information in each of those bullets below the headers to answer any questions that you may have there. And then one final note of emphasis, the Defense Innovation Unit, we report directly to the Secretary of Defense at the Pentagon. So we certainly have a presence there, but we have a broad regional focus as well. And you can see the overview map here of where the Defense Innovation Unit has touch points across the United States. So stars indicate formal DIU offices. With the circles, you'll see our on-ramp hubs, and then we have other auxiliary presences as noted there throughout the country. In the future, as the Blue Manufacturing Program scales, we'll be making use of more and more of those regional presence touch points. But in the meantime, you can expect interface with us mostly virtually. Those 8 regions are supported by over 30 externally oriented representatives around the country. And we're engaged also with 85 distinct universities throughout those different regions. Moving on now to Blue Manufacturing, the reason why each one of you joined this call. Blue Manufacturing is born of several acute production problems that we're seeing specifically in the Department of Defense, but are also symptomatic within the commercial industrial space as well. So from the DoD perspective, we face immediate production shortfalls. And with that, we need an industrial base that is agile, resilient, and massively scalable. Again, we've seen a lot of these symptoms on the commercial industrial base side as well, as everything from geopolitics to COVID and to other events have shown fragility in our existing supply chain. So the Defense Innovation Unit, being a conduit to commercial technology developers, is well positioned to help both understand and to deploy solutions against that problem. Furthermore, critical defense capabilities are needed at a scale beyond which emerging technology companies can produce them. So we have excellent technology being developed within our development ecosystems. And in the case of, for example, unmanned systems, we've got new entrants who are creating tremendous new capabilities in autonomy and software development, and command and control, et cetera. But creating an industrial system that can produce those systems at scale is a difficult problem. So Blue Manufacturing is leaning in on that problem to help those companies both learn to and execute manufacturing at larger scales. Meanwhile, in the commercial sector, manufacturing is being disrupted itself. Forces such as digitization, AI, new manufacturing process, and an aging workforce are all well-known problems and are affecting us again on the department side, but also in commercial industrial sectors. We expect significant changes over the next decade as these different technologies and forces shape the industry into what some have called Industry 4.0, what some are calling advanced manufacturing. Regardless of the title, things are changing, and DIU is keeping a close eye on how that technology vector plays itself out. So with that, we're proud to introduce the Blue Manufacturing Marketplace. The essence of Blue Manufacturing is that it's a marketplace of vetted, best-in-class advanced manufacturing solutions. Again, DIU's position as a conduit to the innovation base, we've seen and gotten to know many of you who are creating new solutions that are driving manufacturing through its current revolution. And we want to be able to identify those and surface them as part of this solution. Blue Manufacturing Marketplace will be facilitating business partnerships between the manufacturing innovation base and critical technology developers. Those critical technology developers are the group that I mentioned earlier, who are creating wonderful solutions that are transforming our defense capabilities. And with the Blue Manufacturing Marketplace, we want to provide them resources to scale their production to meet the high demand that the DoD is forecasting over the coming years. Furthermore, the marketplace will forge an agile and trusted supply chain for scaled production of essential national security platforms. This is building a better and more robust supply chain is a team sport. We all have a part to play. Everybody from those who are developing the next generation technologies to those manufacturers who are implementing those technologies, operationalizing them, and making investments to grow their impact. And DIU wants to take advantage of our place in that ecosystem to help matchmake those partners to create better results going forward. One of the key capabilities that DIU is taking advantage of here is our authority to develop multi-stakeholder partnerships. You can see the authority reference right there, 10 USC 4127 Echo for anybody who wants to take a closer look, but essentially gives us the authority to create partnerships on behalf of going after specific problems that are identified by our director. So the Blue Manufacturing Multi-Stakeholder Partnership will be the vehicle by which we screen, vet, evaluate, and ultimately identify the cohort of companies who will be involved in the blue manufacturing marketplace. This partnership gives us opportunities for a two-way dialogue between the Defense Innovation Unit and the manufacturing industrial base, and that's important. This isn't a standard RFP. This isn't standard defense contracting, and this isn't even an RFI. We see this as much bigger than that. The companies that we select to be a part of this cohort will be involved in a conversation with DIU to help us better understand the future, better understand the direction this industrial revolution is taking, to understand those technology trends, and find ways for us to support those. And even beyond technology, no technology itself goes out into the world and creates change. It requires organizations, it requires people, requires processes, something that the manufacturing community knows all too well. We want to understand where the pain points are in all of those, and use whatever we can to help support that ecosystem thriving in the future. We've got conduits throughout the DoD, and we intend to use that information to inform industrial-based policy, future investments, et cetera. So the roadmap going forward. One thing to keep in mind with this launch of Blue Manufacturing Marketplace is that we're not taking time to sit back and admire the problem. If you've been to a conference, you know that people have their eye on the problem of our industrial base, on the problem of supply chains, and the pain that companies are going through to try to execute within those. And so with that, we're using our position to launch this initial marketplace. You can think of it like a beta launch. We're going to learn as we go, and we're going to move as fast as we can to onboard as many good companies onto this cohort as possible. So with that, the first assessment is being done as a cohort. You saw the announcement. There's a deadline for submission, and then after that, we're going to begin evaluating and then ultimately identifying those who will be in the marketplace. Going forward, we want to transform that into a rolling admissions process. If you have a great technology, we don't want you to have to wait to be able to submit that, and to let us know about it and get it vetted. And so that's something that you can expect going forward with this program. Additionally, it's a small initial cohort. We're going to do as best as we can to identify all of the great solutions that are identified here, but we won't get to all of them. And so that's another reason that we want to press forward with more cohorts across different manufacturing relevant categories, and again, move to a rolling assessment so that we can get all of you on there. I'll talk more a bit about that in the upcoming slide. And we've received several questions, and it's one of the points of this brief as well. And so one of those questions is if I'm not a great fit for one of these categories, can I still apply? Or I'm a great fit in potentially other categories. When will that be available, et cetera? We want you to know that we have our eyes on this very broadly. We're looking at the entire value chain of advanced manufacturing and want to identify all of the companies and solutions that can play a part in that. So with that, we're certainly going to be looking at other manufacturing processes. As you've seen in this initial launch, all of the solutions that we're seeking are all advanced manufacturing categories that track directly to manufacturing processes. We want to look at digital enablers as well, a very important part of the ecosystem as we move forward. Examples of that include cybersecurity, manufacturing execution systems, digital engineering, et cetera. Product verticals, also very relevant. So companies who specialize in microelectronics, companies who make parts, systems, assemblies that are geared towards attritable uncrewed systems, or that are geared towards hypersonics type systems. We'll be looking across different domains. And so if you specialize in parts that work really well in sub-zero temperatures, then stand by for our Arctic solicitation. Similar with space, hypersonic, and maritime. We'll be looking at specific geographies. So this initial assessment is not limited to US only. We're looking broadly at any participants who can lean in. But at some point, we may see demand signals for geographies, specific geographies. And so we'll be opening categories for that. And then other categories that don't fit as neatly here, but things like deployable expeditionary production, a manufacturing system in a box, if you will, or to enable point of need manufacturing and help us get after our contested logistics type problems. With that, we're always open to categories that you think would be useful for the department. And again, we'll be keeping our eye internal to what happens across the DoD to understand which categories are in high demand, and then we'll work quickly to identify and identify those and get them onto the marketplace. So next up, I'll shift onto how to apply. We'll answer some specific questions here that we've heard across the board. You can expect that a lot of these questions will end up on our frequently asked questions page. And we want to get down to the nuts and bolts of how you get yourself onto the marketplace. So the essence of this is a screening and evaluation process. So once you submit, we're going to be looking through what you've submitted and then ultimately identifying both those who go through our screening and then those who demonstrate best-in-class capabilities to get them onto the marketplace as the initial product that lives there. We're looking at that across three different elements. The first is trustworthiness, the second is capability, and the third is innovation. So for trustworthiness, actually, I'll take a step back real quick. You'll notice on here that there are no hard criteria for how to demonstrate each of these. So for example, we've been asked, do I need to share if I'm CMMC compliant? Should I share that I have ISO 9001 certification or other similars? And those questions exist for any of these categories. And the short answer is no. If you have those certifications, that's great, but we want you to pitch us on why you are trustworthy, have best-in-class capability, and can drive innovation forward in manufacturing. And so that could be your team. It could be your geographic location and the investments that you made. It could be protections and controls of certain certifications. Those are all very helpful for us to know. But at the end of the day, there's not a one size specific solution to any of these. And so we're going to do the hard work behind the scenes to understand again your trustworthiness, your capability, and your capability for innovation. Cybersecurity and IP protection are very important in any defense supply chain, and I don't think that needs further explanation. We've received questions such as, do I need an ITAR certification to be able to be on this? Short answer is no. There are many different production programs that don't require ITAR certification, and so we're not going to restrict the list to something like that. But if you do have something like that, please service it. It helps us get a better understanding of your ability in an operational environment to control defense relevant IP. And that's something that we can surface on the marketplace. So if there is a program that requires ITAR, we'll be able to flag that you're a provider who has that certification. Secure and compliant supply chains. This is an area where DIU has done a lot of work already through our existing programs, understanding the supply chains that feed the ultimate end capabilities that are being delivered. And so with that, we've got several methods through which we screen and evaluate both your resiliency of your supply chain, but also compliance with things like sanctions from different countries. If you have a sub-tier supplier who's on the Russian sanction list, for example, that's something that can be identified, but also can be mitigated. And so as you're pitching us on your trustworthiness, there may be things about your supply chain that we're able to find that perhaps you weren't even aware of. So again, please let us know what you're doing to support a secure and compliant supply chain. but also know that DIU is going to be with you, screening for that, monitoring that, and ultimately letting you know where you stand on that front. Brings up one other point that's been asked in a handful of questions. If there's an individual piece of data on here, and I'll use adverse capital and control as an example, where we analyze your capitalization table to understand your investors and understand where influence may be applied to your company, either whether you know it or not. If there are flags there that we find, some of those can be simply mitigated. And so don't think that any of these are a red flag that will get you quickly disqualified. Again, we're partnering with you on this effort to try to find how we can improve your supply chains, how we can improve your posture as a defense supplier company. Next, we're looking for best-in-class capability. Now, I think it goes without saying when you look across multiple manufacturing categories and all of those other categories that we may be looking at going forward, that there's a lot of different ways that best-in-class can be interpreted. We get that. So we want to hear from you why you think you're best-in-class. Give us your best pitch as it relates to the category that you're submitting to. Some of the examples of things that could fall in well there are production throughput, are your quality control processes. If you have unique capabilities, unique materials you use, unique technologies you use, and you have IP or trade secrets around that, please surface that and let us know. That helps us distinguish you from the others. Another key point on here is design for manufacturing services. Given how the marketplace is being set up, that we're posturing you to partner with great critical technology developers. That partnership needs a design for manufacturing service. We're not looking for a design to be thrown over the proverbial fence and then for you to just build what they give you. In a lot of cases, design changes need to be made. Quality assurance processes need to change. There's a whole host of things that need to happen there. And those of you who've worked in design for manufacturing certainly will appreciate that. So a design of a product that's going to be produced at a scale of 100 looks a lot different from the design of a product that's going to be built at the scale of 10,000 or 100,000. And it's that design for manufacturing service where your companies can lend their expertise to technology developers to help them better understand how they're going to get from low rate to high scale production. So please tell us more about what you do for design for manufacturing. Certainly there are consulting and engineering services involved with that. If you have automated services or technology products that help support that, please let us know there too. And finally, driving innovation in manufacturing. This is how we vector towards the future. Again, there's a lot of uncertainty, and I haven't met somebody who knows exactly how the manufacturing industry is going to play out over the next 10 years. So we want companies who are actively involved in research and development, companies who are improving their own processes, companies who are onboarding new technologies to take advantage of the latest that's available in the commercial technology space. Some examples of that include digital and AI-enabled operations. And so using data, using digital processes, using automation, using things such as digital twin and digital thread, all to expedite the operations within your company. Those things we see as valuable, and we hope that you'll be able to iterate and improve on those as we go forward. Supply chain interoperability is an important piece. Again, supply chain is a team sport, and with the DoD at the bottom of the supply chain, we really need participants to be interoperable as much as possible. And so whether that's software tracking, IoT devices, whatever it may be that you are integrating into a supply chain solution, that's important for us to know, as it makes you easier to plug into a digital supply chain. And finally, I don't want to say finally, because there are many, many more examples of how to be innovative in manufacturing, and there are a lot that none of us have even thought of. So please share your ideas on those. The last example I'll share here is support for virtual prototyping and product development. I think the pain of waterfall development and the pain of traditional acquisition life cycles is very much front and center at the Department of Defense, and we need a way through that. And that starts with our manufacturing base being able to support rapid development of capabilities, rapid changes of capabilities, and being able to develop product in an agile way. Again, we expect there's probably a level of digitization and software support that enables that. So we want you to surface your best ideas to us so that we're able to fairly evaluate that. The screening, actually, I'll move on to the next slide. On this next slide, I've got some more tactical details, but again, all of those support these screening and evaluation processes that we'll be going through in this initial cohort assessment. This, just to review, this was published on our site, but wanted to make sure that everybody was well aware of this first category list that we're going after. You can see a handful of these technologies are additive manufacturing, 3D printing. So we're looking at large format metal, small format metal, composite or ceramic, and then finally 3D printed tooling. There may be other additive categories going forward. But the reason we included a handful of those on this list is because of its inherent toolless nature. Now, I don't want to get ahead of the hype on 3D printing. Anybody who's been in this space knows that it's been a long couple of decades going from a technology for rapid prototyping into something that's more industrial. And I know a lot of you on this call have been a part of that journey. The nature of additive manufacturing and its ability to create products without tools at high levels of complexity. Again, I won't say that complexity is free, but additive sure gives us a lot of capability there. We're interested in that upside, and so we want to solicit your best solutions there on those additive fronts. We're also looking at automation, a key driver in the pathway forward with advanced manufacturing. And so we're looking initially at parts that can be produced using automated metal machining processes, automated forming processes. We know that CNC has been around for a long time and that it's proliferated throughout the manufacturing world. So that being said, automation beyond what is the standard is what we're looking for in your pitches. How are you creating a better, more agile, more resilient system by automating within your operations to be better than the competitor next door? And I mentioned 3D printed tooling. And part of what we're doing here in Blue Manufacturing is to surface these new technologies to technology developers that in some cases aren't aware of some of these new manufacturing technologies, or in many cases are waiting for a stronger DoD demand signal before they push go on allowing these new manufacturing processes to proliferate the supply chain. So 3D printing tooling is another one of those areas. Without deep diving, those in that world know that it's less of a process burden because the end use part that you get off of a 3D printed tool bears large resemblance to the process you get off of a standard tool, but in many cases can be procured much more quickly and at a lower cost. So into the specifics. The first thing that we're going to start with is announcing a new deadline for submissions here. So that's going to be pushed back to the 23rd of May. And we've received tremendous response so far from you. And in looking through those and in looking through the frequently asked questions that we've received, we realized that we had to get in front of you and get a little bit more clear about the submission criteria and some of these details. And so we've pushed that deadline back. Again, we've really to be able to give you clarity so that you can dial in your presentations and give your best effort forward there. We're looking for a maximum of a 15-page presentation or a 5-page white paper, not including the title page. For those of you who have worked with DIU before, that's the standard way that we take submissions on our commercial solutions opening process. No preference either way. You can go either route, but keep it within that limit, and then we'll be good there. If you do have multiple categories that you'd like to submit for, you've got capabilities across more than one of those 6 categories, please submit a unique brief for each of those solutions. You get 15 pages, please tailor the brief to the intent of that category. And then that will allow us to be able to evaluate you apples to apples compared to your competitors. Since we are providing new information here, and we're giving more specificity to the process, and we know many of you have already submitted briefs, we're giving the opportunity to resubmit your solution brief. So that'll be permitted only once, and then please indicate on there that there will be a resubmission, that on your brief that it's a resubmission, and that way we know which one is the latest and greatest. If we do have questions, you can expect we'll reach out to you. Again, we're very iterative and open here in terms of the information that we exchange, but in terms of the process for screening and evaluating and submitting your solution brief, we have to present the same information to everybody so that we're all on a level playing field. You can expect that after you submit your solution brief, there will be additional data calls and evaluation rounds. There's going to be more information that we're going to want to know. You can expect that we'll do presentations, or that you'll be able to present to us either in person or virtually to go into a much deeper dive about the capabilities of your company. We'll be asking for additional information to substantiate some of the claims that you've given. And in some cases, we'll even be doing on-site evaluations with our subject matter experts to verify some of those things that are essential for trustworthiness in the defense supply chains. Those evaluations are going to happen. We're going to get to work on those immediately after the submission deadline. We don't have a firm timeline yet on when we'll get back to you because we simply don't know the volume of responses that we're going to have to get through, but also there's a lot that we have to work through on our end, and so we ask for your patience with that. We're going to do the best we can. We know that you're putting a lot of work into these submissions and that getting onto this list is important for your company. So we're going to do the best we can to keep you updated along the way, letting you know when we start our evaluation processes, letting you know if there's any information that we need coming back from you, and then ultimately letting you know once the evaluation rounds are complete and moving forward. As we work through that process, the final assessments will be conducted by a team of subject matter experts. They span DoD, industry, academia, and are best in class in their fields at understanding and evaluating manufacturing companies. Certainly when we cross categories and even in the manufacturing world itself, nobody knows individually enough to fully assess a manufacturing company. Again, I keep coming back. This is a team sport. We're going to be putting a lot of eyes on this and making sure we get a good holistic look and a good fair look at all of the submissions that you put forward. I mentioned this a bit earlier, but we do have limited capacity in this first run. This is essentially our beta launch. We need to start somewhere, and that somewhere needs to be identifying companies to go onto the marketplace. And so we'll be not including everybody who would be possibly a good fit. We're gonna do our best to include all of those, but this first round we'll populate it with as many companies as makes sense. But again, we have capacity constraints, and certainly are seeing tremendous demand for this program. So we'll work through that as best as we can. With that, and again, we are we're going to keep this process fair. We're going to be able to move forward with getting companies onto this list who deserve to be on this list. And so we'll rapidly be moving out with follow-up solicitations and then eventually moving to our rolling admissions process. So again, thank you for your patience as you go through there. For any companies who don't get selected, we certainly encourage you to reapply to further rounds. Not being selected here does not mean that you don't meet certain qualifications. Again, this list is meant to identify resources that we can move forward with for scaling production. And we eventually intend to have a holistic list that captures all of you. One specific note, if you're a manufacturing technology developer, so for example, an original equipment manufacturer of 3D printing equipment, i.e. you've developed your own machines, if you have machines that are intended for network access for the Department of Defense and you've received an authority to operate, please do surface that as well. That's a helpful bit of knowledge for us as we move forward with our evaluations. If you're not, if you don't develop your own machines with the intent to put them on Department of Defense networks, then that doesn't apply to you. So just keep that in mind, and we're happy to take questions on that as need be. So next up, we're going to move into our Q&A session. So I appreciate you standing by on my portion of the brief. You've heard me talk specifically and broadcast enough here. So I'm going to bring back Orlando Zambrano, my partner in crime here, our commercial engagement principal, who's going to be surfacing questions. One more call to you. If there are any questions that you have based on my brief or based on something you thought of this morning or dreamt of last night, please surface them. We're happy to take a look at them. We don't have time to get to all of the questions, I'm assuming. But with that, we do have time to address those questions, get them back to this group, get the common questions under our frequently asked questions. So please do ask if you have a question worth asking. So with that, I'll pass it back to you, Orlando.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Travis, and appreciate all the ground you covered. And I think we're very helpful in illuminating a lot of the questions that are coming through. But as you might imagine, we have many questions still flowing through on the Q&A function. So thank you to the attendees for all of the engagement. As Travis mentioned, we're going to try to make our way through as many of these as possible. From a process standpoint, we've gotten a lot of questions with respect to whether this presentation will be shared. This recording of the webinar will be made available on the DIU website once it has been edited for clarity. So that will be the opportunity to then access or reference any of the discussion that occurred over the course of today's webinar. So jumping right in, just to make sure that we can cover as many questions as we can, and then what we'll endeavor to do on the back end is aggregate some of the most common ones that we were not able to get to, and have that discussed via a posted FAQ. But again, you'll be able to refer back to the recording. So I'll try to kind of categorize these, Travis, from questions that sort of address the vision of the program, and then those that also address the specific process and applying and participating. So from a vision standpoint, we've received a number of questions with respect to whether or not there is a contract on the other side of Blue Manufacturing, who specifically is being addressed or benefiting from Blue Manufacturing, and how you expect companies to overall benefit from being part of Blue Manufacturing. So maybe you can address that from a few different angles, just in terms of how this might differ from maybe a traditional DIU CSO.
Certainly. Thank you, Orlando. In a traditional DIU CSO, for those who have participated, the end result of that process is a prototype contract, and then is generally followed by a transition to production contract. That's not the case here with Blue Manufacturing. So there is no direct government contract on the backside of this. The role that we're playing here is to benefit three sides of the platform. The first side, the first two sides are the advanced manufacturers who are identified to be on the marketplace, and the critical technology developers who need that manufacturing help in their supply chain. And so the mechanism by which this leads to work, which is the question you're all asking, is through business-to-business partnership arrangements between the manufacturers and the technology developers. And so by being surfaced in this marketplace, you can think of it like having a LinkedIn type profile, whereby technology developers will be able to see your profile, get an understanding of your capability, and be connected directly to you for partnership discussions to help scale their technology. The third side of the platform that then benefits is the DoD, and it's indirectly, but we need the scale of these technologies ultimately to land in the warfighter's lap. And so by keeping our hands out of the commercial marketplace, so to speak, and allowing you to directly relate to each other, to go into partnership discussions, that's how we plan to facilitate work for you, and at the end of the day, capability to the warfighter.
Super helpful. Thanks, Travis. Still on sort of the vision questions here. We've received a number of questions from participants who've mentioned that perhaps the the capability that they bring to the table doesn't neatly fit into one of the categories that are currently laid out for this initial effort. How should they think about participating or potentially awaiting release of additional categories in the future?
Yep. If it were me, I would think about that just like I would think about pitching another company. If you got an RFP from a prime who asked for large format metal additive capabilities, would you pitch them on your capability? It's the same equation, because again, that's ultimately how this is going to play out. Now, that being said, there's always room at the margins. There are always use cases and exceptions, et cetera. And so we've stepped back from making a hard definition on that. And ultimately, we'll be leaning on the idea of, if a company is looking for, let's say, ceramic additive, or composite additive, are they going to be reaching out to you to help support that solution? Now, of course, keep in mind what I mentioned earlier. We're going to be looking that you're trustworthy, that you've got great capability, and that you're innovative. And we certainly need you to have a design for manufacturing type expertise, right? We need that in this type of relation. So if you fit in that bucket, if you can make a compelling case for why you fit there, then do so. But if not, this is not the end of the road. This is just the beginning. And so after this solicitation closes, if you're somebody who really wants in and thinks a category deserves merit, then please reach out to us. Perhaps you're a materials company who provides an innovative capability. That if your materials supply directly lends itself to one of the categories, right? You supply, let's say, metal powder for a laser-based additive metal process, then certainly submit, we'll consider. However, in this first round, we're looking more for holistic, full roll-up solutions, and know that in the future, we will have a category for materials specifically. So it's not a definitive answer, but I would say measure your workload accordingly. If it's not a good fit, it might not be worth your time, but know that going forward, there are going to be categories that fit your particular solution.
Building on that answer, Travis, if a company is less of a component or sort of narrow capability provider or range of capabilities that tree up into the supply chain, but an integrated manufacturer or system integrator, how should they think about Blue Manufacturing, where they might fit in?
That's a great question, Orlando. There is a very big role for full up systems integration capability contract manufacturers. Partner with companies who have a product and to take manufacturing completely off of their plate, so to speak. It's never fully off. But if you are a full up manufacturer who provides everything from parts assembly to, from parts production to assembly, systems integration, and full up systems delivery, there will be a place for you. There is a very big need for companies like that who provide the full scope of services. We didn't think it was wise for us to dive into such a complex space on our first round of evaluation. So expect that going forward. We know that that's a much more complicated operation that you run if you run a full up systems integration capability, or even large scale assemblies, multiple parts, sub-assemblies, et cetera. So there will be a place for you, and we'll get there going forward. And let's keep the conversation going between now and then.
Shifting gears slightly, and maybe one more question on kind of overall vision, and just helpful to clarify from kind of a relationship amongst various DIU efforts. What overlap or complementarity does this have with Blue UAS, which is a program that many folks that have had a relationship with DIU may know about?
Yeah, thanks, Orlando. The biggest overlap is the color blue. And I say that to say that they're very different programs, right? They have similar branding. They're both being run out of DIU, but they've got some key differences. And so I don't like to use the analogy because I think it can be a bit confusing. One of those elements is that the Blue UAS program vets specifically for compliance with the National Defense Authorization Act. Blue manufacturing is not vetting for specific compliance. And so there are many great manufacturers, as I mentioned earlier, who we won't be able to get on the initial list. Whereas as Blue manufacturing, again, vets for compliance with what is ultimately the law. And so will you be able to continue to manufacture in defense supply chains if you're not on the Blue manufacturing list? Yes, absolutely you will. And so I don't like to draw the comparisons too much. And it's also, it's an adjacent program. I think if there is to be overlap going forward, it's probably in the production of microelectronics, and it's probably in the production of components that lend themselves to UAS type needs. But I would think of them separately. If you're on the Blue UAS list and you think there's some overlap and you should be considered, but then by all means apply. But the two programs aren't tied together.
Fantastic. So switching gears a bit more into kind of the tactical application process, because we've received many questions from a variety of different angles about it. So we'll try to get to a few of them. The first one being in terms of sort of maturity of companies that submit. Can you comment a bit on MRLs, TRLs that you might expect, or specific capacity that should be available to have a well-positioned submission to Blue Manufacturing?
Yes, absolutely. And it's a really good question. So to those of you who initially surfaced it, thank you. It's the right question to ask. The short answer is there's no hard floor on any of those things. There's no hard requirement. We're going to be looking at you as compared to your competitors, as compared to industry baselines, et cetera. Now, that being said, we are not comparing the throughput of an additive process to the throughput of an automated machining process. Right? These categories are distinct from each other. And so we'll be evaluating them with different groups of subject matter experts, looking to drive down on what it really means to be great in these, what it really means to be a great manufacturer in each of these categories. And so things like production throughput, things like quality control, other measures of manufacturing importance, those matter. We want to know about them, and please do highlight how you are better than the others. I'll give just an example to help clarify some of that. So you might be using automated machining process to create metal component parts. You might have there might be another company who also uses a similar process. As you know, your capabilities and that other company's capabilities can't always be compared cleanly, because perhaps you have tighter quality standards. Perhaps you use different materials than they do. Perhaps you're located in a different part of the world than they do, and perhaps you have lower cost point for what you're able to produce. There's a lot of ways which you can compare and which you can be great. We're not just looking for one metric. So please do surface your best competitive look, and we'll evaluate accordingly.
Another question that's come up in a few different ways from the perspective of the application process or restriction thereof, but is there a geographical restriction to where companies that submit are domiciled, or where they're operating, whether it must be US based or based in allied or partner nations?
Yep, it's a great question. No hard restrictions on that to begin. And so we'll certainly be doing vetting. I think there's a handful of covered countries through which we're not going to accept. If you're based in North Korea, we're probably going to have concerns about your about undue influence on your manufacturing process. I won't go through that list. I think they're all relatively well known, and I doubt we have many of those on our call to begin with. But the point is, we need great U.S. manufacturers. We need great allied nation manufacturers. The supply chain is a geographic game as much as anything else, and certainly defense operations are a geographic game as well. And so, as we think about structuring supply chains, we want to make best use of those companies in different geographies that are capable, trustworthy, and innovative.
A related question in terms of kind of profile of applicants. What about organizations that aren't necessarily kind of a traditional profile of a company that's delivering a specific manufacturing capability, maybe FFRDCs or the Manufacturing Innovation Institutes? How should they think about what role they could play in blue manufacturing?
I think about that two ways. One is that if they can meet the intent of partnering with a commercial entity to help them scale their production in the ways that we've described here. I know and have met and have worked with many of them. There are many more that I haven't met yet and worked with. Then please do submit and apply. We're interested in that angle. In some cases, your organizations as an FFRDC or as a national lab might be really great in that value chain to help work through technology readiness level development of a specific product. Your place in that value chain might be really helpful to work through the manufacturing readiness level of a different product, or ultimately might be helpful in early stage prototyping efforts before the final production system is baked. So there's a place for everybody. I would encourage, if you can work in a commercial type arrangement, then please do submit. But I would also say, likewise, for any of the labs, FFRDCs, even maybe you are part of the Department of Energy or directly part of the Department of Defense and a lab within that. Please do reach out as well. I'm happy to build conversations about how we can build this ecosystem more cohesively.
Maybe switching gears in the last few minutes back to and zooming out back to some of the broader vision points and how this may play out in the longer term, Travis. How do you foresee as you build the cohorts of blue manufacturing, the role of DIU in brokering or matching capability with need as we see more companies that are perhaps developing relevant technologies for the DoD, but may need some help along the journey of scaling their production?
Yep. The Defense Innovation Unit is taking an intentional approach of stopping short of directly creating the matches. We want companies to be able to find each other. We want companies to be able to trust each other, and we want them to be able to work through those discussions on their own. But we're not going to be directly suggesting or providing matches. That's not our role to play in this ecosystem. But that being said, the Defense Innovation Unit works with a lot of companies who do develop hardware technology. We're going to point them to this list. And so as this list builds up, we know that DIU and other defense organizations can point their developers to this list for manufacturing partners who have gone through this process. So I think that's our intentional role to play. There certainly could be more value propositions that roll out as this program develops. But we want the commercial marketplace to do its thing, and we're going to play our role in that and spur it along.
And you mentioned the trust point once again, and we've received a number of different questions of how should I think about depicting that if I'm applying to blue manufacturing? So can you maybe double click into what you mean when you mention trustworthiness, and whether that falls in the category of being able to validate resilience and ensuring compliance with requirements in terms of security, or is that, you know, more about being a reliable partner and or somewhere in between? How should applicants think of that?
Yep. The way I think about that, and the way this program is going to evaluate is how a business owner would think about that. Trust means a lot of things, right? And there are hard requirements. There are soft requirements for many of those things. If you've ever run through an onboarding process where, let's say, you were becoming a supplier to a larger company, that can take a long time. There are a lot of facets that are looked at, everything from some of the specific things I mentioned, to deep dive into, can I trust that you're not going to go out of business in the next 6 months, right? Can I trust that if I give you a large order, you'll be able to handle that? It's those things that signal trust. And again, there are a lot of ways to demonstrate that, but I think putting on the hat of an OEM, of a defense prime, or definitely putting on the hat of a small to medium-sized technology developer who has invested their life's worth and savings into developing a new technology. The Department of Defense has asked them to scale that technology. They need a partner they can trust to help bring that to fruition. And so, of course, IP protection, of course, supply chain compliance with the law, of course, some of these other facets. But if you have other angles that signify your trustworthiness, please do share and pitch that to us, and we'll take it into consideration.
In the last few minutes, I'll tackle one question that has come up a fair bit, and then would love for you to just give any parting shots you might have, Travis, to bring us home. A number of participants have surfaced that their technology is more of an enabler. This is especially thinking about software-based solutions that may help in the design process, or actually may help from a workforce development standpoint for manufacturing, or maybe around securing critical operational technology that goes into manufacturing processes. Is there a role for them to play either in this round or in future rounds of Blue Manufacturing?
There is a role for them to play. And hardware and software, and manufacturing technology equipment, they all play together going forward with the operators on the manufacturing floor who are making it happen. And so digital enablers are a key part of the future of manufacturing. And the manufacturing world is certainly going through a revolution as it incorporates and digests some of those technologies. So in this initial round, there's no direct angle for digital enablers. In future rounds, there will absolutely be a role for digital enablers across many different categories. And so I'd say if you create software that does slicing for 3D printing, this isn't the round for you yet. We're looking for all encompass solutions, but there will be a place for you going forward in that as we look to surface those new innovative software technologies.
Fantastic. With that, I know we're at time. Any final words you'd like to share with the many folks we've got dialed in?
Yeah, I am excited to be here at this place in time as the world digitizes, as manufacturing transforms, as the Department of Defense and our national security complex have tremendous challenges in front of us. To be able to interface directly with this group and be a part of DIU's doubling down on our investment into advanced manufacturing programs, I'm looking forward to working with and meeting many or all of you at some point. So thank you very, very much for your patience, for coming along for the ride, and to seeing how well we can get this done.
Thanks so much, Travis, and thank you all for attending and for your attention and for your fantastic questions. We'll make this recording available as soon as we are able to edit, and try to tackle as many more questions as we can through frequently asked questions.
Wonderful. Thank you, Orlando. And I was late moving up the thank you slide. We've got some touch points for DIU here. Feel free to screenshot, write those down, etc. But you can find these all on our website as well. And we look forward to hearing you going forward. Thank you.